Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Financial Prepper and I am Stacey. Are we this close to a constitutional crisis? If you look at this article, the article that came out 2 days ago, we're 6 states away from invoking the Article 5th and having a national convention. We've never had a national convention regarding the Constitution in our history. Now, we've had amendments that have been, voted in. So let's talk about this a little bit. What does this actually mean? Because I'm not even really sure, because based on what I can find, there are no guidelines in place for a national convention. Now, these terms that we hear thrown out all the time, term limits, balancing a budget, they sound great. But one-on-one voted in, they sound wonderful. But if you lump them all in at a national convention, is that good? Is that bad? This is stuff that when you go to vote at your local ballot, when you go to place your vote, you may be voting on something and have no idea what you're voting on. Sometimes I question, what does this mean? And you have to go look it up. I'm actually taking a class right now on the Constitution because I think it's my responsibility to know exactly what is in the Constitution. What does it mean? And that's what kind of got me interested in this article when I saw it. So let's jump in. Grab your cup of tea and let's try to figure this out, if this is a good or a bad thing, because we're actually watching history. 2 days ago, it came out on The Hill. This is an article. I'll link it in the description so you guys can read it for yourself. But it states, a constitutional convention would be a constitutional crisis. States must say no. It said earlier this year, quote, I'm going to read some of this so that I don't misstate or misrepresent. But it said the Montana legislature almost took the whole country another step toward a constitutional crisis. They're calling for a national convention to rewrite the U.S. Constitution using Article 5, a mechanism that has never once been invoked in the history of our republic. Michigan citizens, they're also getting ready to vote on this. 28 states have passed resolutions to enact this amendment to require a federal budget, and they're saying and calling for a constitutional convention. No, 19 states, I apologize. 19 states have already passed resolutions calling for a constitutional convention. 28 states have passed other amendments. Only 6 more states are required it says 6 more states are required to reach the 34 states needed to call this convention. Now, this is in this article so that I don't misquote it or misrepresent it. But it says only 6 more states are required to reach the 34 states needed to call this convention. Now, this convention has never happened in our history. So I started looking it up because it looks great. It says the convention of the state, it projects and it says that it wants to have term limits, which you guys, I'm all for. I just went to a dinner the other night and heard John Fleming speak, and he is running for Senate in the state of Louisiana. And I need to know what he stands for. So that was one of the questions that we asked him. He said yes, that he does. He thinks there should be term limits. That's great. Let's vote that in. But if they put it in a national convention along with everything else, what else is included? They're also wanting a balanced budget. That sounds great too, right? But what else is included? They're saying that they want states to nullify federal laws and regulations. Is that good or bad? I don't know. That's when you have to kind of get into the weeds a little bit more. This is where they were talking about, though. They said that as the Article 5th, and I'm trying to learn about it probably as you guys are, from what I understand it, there's 2 ways. The traditional way, which, Congress presents something, takes it to the states vote on it, and that's the traditional way. Here's a little interesting tidbit, and I did not know this till I was doing some research. There's 27, that have been amendments. The 27th, I think, took 200 years to get voted in. Now they've changed that. They only get like 7 years, I think, and then it goes off the ballot, I guess. And that particular one was if Congress would allow themselves pay raises while they were still in office, but they said no, it has to wait till the next term person comes in, so otherwise they couldn't give themselves pay raises. That was, I believe, voted in officially in 1992, so I guess they've been giving themselves own pay raises. I don't know. I didn't get too much into that, but I thought that was interesting. However, the other way is where they can go around the Constitution and states can ask for a what's called a national convention. And that is what the states are actually stepping up and doing. It's a whole group of parties organizations that are pushing for this. Now, I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing, and that's why I'm trying to learn and educate myself to see what I believe, because a lot of the stuff that they're talking about, I'm for, like I said, a balanced budget, term limits, and so on. Now, this was another thing that came up where they said, because, and I'll quote, they're calling it, if it happens, the National Convention, they're saying it's going to be, quote, a runaway convention. Because a convention outlined in the U.S. Constitution has never been tried, many scholars and some politicians worry about what has often been referred to as a runaway convention. Because there are so few rules about the convention, it's never happened before, it could wind up making huge changes, upending the constitutional republic. That is a concern. I can see that. And it didn't really state in there how would we send the delegates? I could not find anywhere. Would it be people from Congress, or would you represent someone from your state to go to these national conventions? I was not able to find that. If you guys know, then chime in the comments. I'd like to know how you would actually pick the people that were to go to these national conventions. Another one said, it talked about it, how the process to call a constitutional convention is outlined in Article 5, which they're trying to invoke. However, Article 5 does not specifically outline how a convention would work and what, if any, limits are placed on a convention when it begins. So could it rewrite the whole Constitution? So there's a lot of concern that if you just open the doors for a convention, a national convention with no guidelines, then you could have more problems. And I can see that. And I can't seem to find anything where it states any kind of guidelines, very little, if all. So I'm watching this. There's a lot of states that are having votes. And if you see this national convention in the verbiage that you're voting on, you might just ask yourself, is this something that you're for? Are you for invoking Article the 5th to do a national convention, to open it up? Because there's no guidelines from what I can tell what this actually would would actually mean. However, I am for term limits. Like I said, I am for budgeting about balancing a budget. But I don't know if I'm for a national convention yet. Doing some more research on it. If you guys know some more that I don't know, I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. But as Chris would say, have an awesome, awesome day. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. And you guys keep staying strong, keep researching, keep learning, and we're going to keep going after and trying to figure out everything we can, what's going on in our world these days. Have a great day. Bye.